One of the images that Christians relate to is seeing Jesus seated among the little children, blessing them. Definitely a reference to what we heard in the gospel passage today. But I'd like to ask you to identify what makes someone a child. And certainly during the time of Christ's life on earth, children were what we would expect children to be here. Dependent upon their parents, powerless. We here in the United States also have a lot of people and groups that are powerless today. Perhaps, in addition to the children, we could add to that list the elderly or the unemployed. What about homeless, uninsured? Some would even go on to say that there are aspects of both the white culture, the black culture, the Hispanic culture, gays and lesbians, and all sorts of other groups that don't fit into mainstream USA, are also considered to be powerless. Just like then, when Jesus was confronted with a question about divorce, political and religious leaders often redirect our attention to situations about fringe groups or situations that get us away from what the real message is. So that real message that we're supposed to hear today from Jesus is that you and I are created in God's image, an image of love, an image of true concern for others. And our behaviors are supposed to be that of God as we interact with others. October is observed throughout the Catholic world as Respect Life Month. So our energies, particularly this month and really every month of the year, should be directed toward helping solve the problems that seem to lead to the abuse of those that are powerless in our society. Some of those groups include unwed mothers or single mothers. We won't even begin to address issues like abortion or euthanasia. But let's just talk about those women that want to have a child and need help in doing it. What are we as a society, as a community, doing to support them? Certainly here in this parish we have a long-standing history now of supporting the Jesus, Mary, and Joseph Life Center and providing them with funds and materials to help these women that make a choice for life. And then there are the elderly. Again, our parish has stood for 3 years now in our ministry of reaching out to the elderly in a nursing home. Not only the one that we visit, but in others and in hospitals, so that they can worship God in a community atmosphere, to build up the body of Christ in that place, to treat them with the dignity that their age and their humanity deserves. Children also deserve a little extra attention today. Not only are they to be treasured as the future of our society, but we also need to make sure that we educate them properly. That they're just not mindless blobs who look at video games and televisions and accept everything they hear, but that they have the ability to read and to reason for themselves. And we need to give a special care currently to preventing the abuse of children and the trafficking in children that is so pervasive around the globe. Then we have the unemployed. What are we doing to help create jobs here at home that pay a decent living wage for people? What are we doing for the homeless? Are we providing decent housing? Are we trying to help people that want to lift themselves from sleeping on the street? And once again, there was a meeting here back in February, hosted in downtown Orlando, where we had religious leaders and political leaders come together to discuss purchasing a facility from a church back behind Lake Eola for the homeless shelter. Has anything happened? Or is that another sleight of hand and misdirection? The uninsured. Currently, our Congress is considering various ways of making sure all Americans have some sort of access to health care. Those of us that have visited an ER with insurance certainly see the difference between those that have and have not. Are we taking the time to be cognizant of what is being proposed? Or once again, are we listening to the talking heads on television and radio, misdirecting us from what the real purpose of these pieces of legislation are? And now, rather than a group, I would suggest that one of the things that really still is raising its head here in our society, that Jesus would decry in this gospel today, as well as from the letter to the Hebrews, is prejudice. And prejudice can raise its head in the forms of racial prejudices, religious, sexual orientation, nationalities. It needs to be rooted out. We hear clearly in the book of Hebrews that Jesus is our brother. Jesus unites each one of us in all of our diversity into the family of God. The question for you and for me this day and each day of our lives is, are we ready to be part of that family? Are we ready to empower the powerless and love all people as ourselves?